Previously on the business.
Of course, FNB have come on board to, I think, take an amazing opportunity which is being presented to everybody to be able to talk business and talk more about small business as well. And I thought we'd have a chat to Just Plain Darren, who I suppose you had the little brainchild and thought to kind of start this whole show, didn't you?
Yeah, how's it, Ian? Hello.
How's it? There we go.
I'm on this one now, yeah. Hey, Kriya.
Good on yourself, Darren.
Officially welcome again.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here.
Kriya dipped her toe in doing the traffic on our show in the afternoon, but this is where she's going to be looking for all those
Your new home.
business stories. Yeah, it's a conversation that started a while ago. We've always kind of thought that there was a place for a business show somewhere on the radio station, but what are we now? 18 months, nearly 18 months old, I think.
It's crazy.
We are 18 months old,
Yeah.
which is still very much young in the radio industry. And it's been in the back of our minds, and then in conversation with the people at First National Bank, we discussed, and they actually came up with the idea: why don't we do a business show? But there are business shows out there. This is kind of a different business show, and already just listening to the opening of the show, it's kind of got a different feel to a business show. It's basically to talk to the person out there that is listening to, first of all, deal with the topical business stories. Mm-hmm. So and at the moment, if you look at just some of those headlines, the whole BMW story. Always how it affects us here in South Africa and what's the way forward.
Sure.
What does the whole BMW exit mean for South Africa and for our economy as well? So that's one of them. And there are just so many, obviously, topical stories happening around our economy. But the other thing that we identified is that with every single possible story that is out there, doesn't matter what it is, there's always a business angle.
In fact, during the pre-meetings of all of the show kind of pre-meetings, we've been sitting down brainstorming and having a think about it, and it's amazing how one person would name a business, and all of a sudden you're kind of going, hang on a second, there's another angle which you can take to this, and that's what I'm hoping we can start to find is the more personable side of business, the way that it affects other people, and as you say, always bringing it back to South Africa and how it's affecting your pocket at the end of the whole story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just for instance, other than the big topical stories as well, you can go to the other end of the scale. And one thing about Balls Radio that we've always, I think, has been our sort of vision, has been about having fun in entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's about creating really good content that people don't really get anywhere else, having a point of difference. And I think at this stage, that's a subject in itself that we can talk about, is the future of digital and online in South Africa and where it's going. And I think that's one of the things that FNB have identified, is that there's just a massive scope that is open for digital and online radio and online entities in this country. And it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're positioned in there. So, even a subject like online radio is like the future of online radio. Where is it going? Already in the USA, it's been identified that by 2017 there'll be 179 million people listening to radio online. And that is a massive growth, considering they've had satellites as well.
I always like to bring it back to the fact that content is king, and no matter what way you listen to your content, you're still going to go and find the best content, and that's always what I'd like to kind of bring back to this show is we're providing a point of difference, as you said. We're not just providing the hard facts, but we're also providing the backstories and a couple of interesting threads of bits and pieces that make for good content. And when it comes to internet in this country, in South Africa, it's expensive. We know that you pay a lot of money for bandwidth. We know that it's sometimes difficult to get online because we don't have those facilities that the States have, that the UK have, that Europe has. However, that's going to change. That has to change. We have to be able to access the internet. The public's going to demand it, and that's where internet radio is going to grow, and it's going to boom because at this stage it's unregulated. Although we like to take a responsible stance in it, but we have a lot of fun, and we perhaps able to say a lot more than an FM station would because we don't have Big Brother watching over us.
And there's another one right in itself there. As I say, every single story, everything you find, and people are accessing, let's not kid ourselves, people are accessing their news, their business, everything. But just talk about your general news. First thing in the morning, you get up in the morning, you get online. You're either on Twitter or you go to Facebook. But I think Twitter has become the new daily newspaper of the world.
Huge.
All right, so you get. I haven't bought a newspaper in ages.
A what?
A newspaper. Yeah, it's those pamphlets.
I keep it for my dog. It's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, it's good. Or if you run out of blitz, then you can light a fire, which I still don't know how to do that, by the way. It just makes a lot of smoke. But you get your information on Twitter. You get your information online a lot of the time, and you're up to date. In fact, sometimes when you do read the newspapers, it doesn't give you that sense of knowing anymore.
Sure.
You know, and that is why a lot of people are using the digital world now, the digital space, to actually access information. And there is just so much out there, and there are so many stories. But every single one of them you look at, there's a business angle. And that's why when we've sat down and discussed, all right, how are we going to handle this show? Because there are very credible business shows out there.
Sure.
Very good ones. They deal with the hard sort of the topical business stories. We want to talk about the stories that, and this is where you, as our listener who's listening, get involved as well. You tell us, I want to know how this came about. I want to know what the story behind it. You called it the backstory behind that is. You get involved as well, and you talk to us about, what are the stories that you want to hear. We're going to be bringing in a lot of very credible people from different walks of life to come and contribute to the show. I mentioned Twitter. I mean, one of those is every week, and you guys had Emma Sadlier on here a few months ago. A very good response to her, and she is just an example of one of quite a lot of people now who are social media experts. What are you allowed to do on social media? It's changing every single week, There are now court cases around things that people say on social media. The Daily Mail in the UK.
It's massive.
There's a thing now about a tweet some guy made, and it's a big story in the news there.
Well, look at Kevin Peterson. We chatted to him the other day. The amount of controversy that he's created on Twitter, and he puts his hands up and goes, "Hang on, guys, I'm just being me."
But they do it on purpose because it's another angle of them creating a profile for themselves.
Absolutely.
Piers Morgan as well. I mean, a lot of people follow him. He's got 3.4 million followers. And he uses social media almost as a lot of the time he's fighting with people there, and he gets an overwhelming amount of abuse on social media as well. But it's kind of another way of branding yourself and positioning yourself in the entertainment market from their point of view. And everyone, every morning on a Monday morning, Rihanna's always trending.
Sure.
And there's no other reason other than she just trends on a Monday. Yeah. Why does she do that? So there'll be a social media slot. Obviously, entrepreneurship and innovation is a big part of business. So we're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. I know next week, just to put it out there, a company like Debonair's, which is a massive chain and brand in the food industry now. How did that start? There's an amazing story behind it.
And how did they end up selling?
And where is the guy who started it now?
Yeah.
He's actually sitting upstairs from us.
Right.
But it's an amazing story. So he's going to be on the show next week. The business of sport. We've kind of, it's called Balls Radio because it's got a double entendre. It's got two meanings.
Yep.
Took a lot of balls to start this, first of all. But second of all, we've got a kind of a sports angle, a sports theme to it. And if you look at every single sports story, Tiger Woods, he's 2-3 years that he was in the doldrums. What did that cost him? Why did Nike stick with him? What was the reason behind it? And what kind of money is involved in that? What does it take for a guy to become a professional? What does he need to be able to play on the tour?
And how much do brands actually get from being involved with him at all? Economics behind it.
What risk is there with a brand being involved with someone? I mean, Nike, you talk about them. How many times have they been smacked over the last couple of years by something that's happened on social media or something that's happened outside of the sphere where they sponsor these guys, and what is the value to them of somebody off the field, and how dangerous is it as well? So, the business of sport, there's just so much. It's like from the World Cup that we had 3 years ago. What have we made?
And
where's
also,
that money gone?
Well, also, are we in the hangover now when it comes to when the rest of the world was suffering from an economic turndown? We had the World Cup, so people were pumping money into South Africa. Now, all of a sudden, the World Cup's gone. It's just a memory. But the rest of the world is now starting to feel a bit of a buzz and start to pick up. Yet we're in the middle of a dip at the moment. So you got to think about things like that. The other thing I want to mention is tech and gadgets. Because it's something that I'm very keen on, something that I love. And I think maybe later on in the week or perhaps next week, we're going to be chatting about apps, and more specifically, making money from games. There has just been a release of one of the biggest games. In fact, I think it is the biggest game.
The biggest online selling game at the moment.
It is made by a little company in the United Kingdom. In fact, I think they're in Scotland. Their name is Rockstar. And the game that I'm talking about is Grand Theft Auto. Now, you might think, well, games, so what? Yeah, but hang on. These people are making
That's a pastime over here, isn't it?
These guys are making $200-300 million on their opening day of selling the games. Candy Crush Saga, who cares? Well, I tell you what, when you're starting to make $20-30 million a month from a little app game.
And it's a free app
and
as well.
It's free, but they sucker you in by making you spend money as you continue to do it. So all of these things are very, very interesting points, which we cannot wait to pick up on.
Yeah, so there's like big business. How did it start? Where did it start as a small business? How did it grow? Stories like that. Then also stories like, where's the camera here? Somebody has to make, like, this is a headphone jack.
Yep.
Somebody's got to make this little thing that goes on the back of a headphone jack. Or tell a story about somebody's got to make the ring pulls for the cans.
Yep.
You know, all those little things we take for granted every day. How many people out there don't actually know that there's somebody there running a really good business just making those things? I mean, I've bumped into people they tell you what they do, and then I go, what? But then you think somebody's got to make that stuff.
Sure.
And they're running a really successful business. So the spectrum is just endless. As I say, the whole idea of the show is that everything is a business, and it'll just have its own life, and it'll evolve as each day goes on. We don't know what's going to happen next week, what's going to be the news story. You know, what are the ramifications of South Africa not winning the test match on the weekend, stuff like that. What are the ramifications of having two stadia in our biggest city, Ellis Park and the F&B Stadium, where we know Saru want to play at F&B Stadium.
Yep.
But, you know, Ellis Park is
Ellis
sitting
Park.
there. What happens with Ellis Park if they decide, let's go to F&B Stadium only? You know, these are the big questions you've got to ask. And then even to the point of having a bit of fun with business as well. You know, we were talking last week about Nando's and their entry into the USA. And apparently,
Unbelievable.
yeah, I think they've got 1 or 2 stores there already, and already these 2 stores have become the places of choice for the celebs to go and get their stuff.
Also, the advertising campaigns that they've done.
Which is amazing.
And the fact that they're giving free chicken to Congress.
Yes, very, very
Have
good.
you heard about that?
But the amazing part of that is that whole theme, they've done an ad, but the theme of the ad in the US, done by a completely different agency over there, is still very much in line with the whole Nando's strategy and the way they've latched onto topical stories and run with them. You know, and some of them haven't been multimedia, or haven't been sort of mass media.
Yep.
They've just done them as little online viral things, which have obviously been copied and sent out. They've hit that on the button.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, a chat with just the people that are behind Nando's and their thinking and that type of stuff is one thing. But, I mean, as it was pointed out by Barrett in our chats, Barrett from First National Bank last week, is that can you imagine the new rap songs now where they start singing about Nando's? Because they're all going to Nando's now. So we might preempt that and say, well, this is what a rap song will sound like. So it's about having fun. Business can also be fun. It doesn't have to be hard facts and figures.
Yeah.
We'll give you the vital information, but the show is also about having fun. And I mean, even you're going to play a song in just a moment by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The business of music. You know, there are a lot of stories behind bands and songs and how a particular song has either made or not made a band, depending on one snap decision, which is basically a business decision. The example I always use is the Eagles, Hotel California, and I never ever knew this until I was actually putting together, when you were at 5FM, I was putting together Rocktober one month.
Right.
And I went into the Guinness Book of #1 hits, and I was now doing the Eagles story, because there was a story around every song we played. What is the rock story behind it? And I didn't realize that Hotel California, which is one of the greatest songs ever made, might not have actually been that. But some of the band members, and I don't remember exactly who was in which city, but some of them were in Los Angeles, some of them were in San Francisco. And they wrote the song in Los Angeles. I think it was Glenn Frey was in LA at the time.
Okay.
It was a 3-minute song.
Originally.
It was a 3-minute song. They finished it, everything. It started, the vocals, finished with the vocals. And I think it was Glenn Frey who felt that there was something missing from the song. So he sent a cassette
Via a donkey.
a guy with a forked stick. He sent a cassette to San Francisco, where I think it was either Timothy B. Schmidt or Don Henley. As I say, I'm not quite sure exactly who the members were in which city. Sent it to them and say, listen, this is almost there. We love the actual part we've done, but it's missing something. And then it came back to LA a week later on cassette with the instrumental intro and the long instrumental guitar. That
it's legendary.
That legendary ending of the song, which you don't ever stop that song before the end. No. And it became a 6-minute song. And that was what made Eagles Hotel California a massive song, their biggest song ever, and just by one split decision where a guy felt, I don't. So even the business of music and what went into the songs, and I mean the one that you're going to be playing in just a moment, I didn't know, but the song that made the Red Hot Chili Peppers actually almost might have been the undoing of the band itself.
Well, I mean, he John Frusciante, well, I can never pronounce his surname properly.
Exactly right.
Yeah, he was going to be leaving the band, and he did leave the band eventually.
Yeah, because of that song.
Because of Under the Bridge. Taken from Wikipedia, it became a critical and commercial success for the band, peaking at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Later it went platinum, etc., etc. The single's success was widened with the release of an accompanying video, which was played on MTV and other music channels. It won all sorts of awards. Under the Bridge allowed the Red Hot Chili Peppers to enter the mainstream. However, its success led in part to the departure of the guitarist John Frusciante, who preferred the band to remain underground. He wanted them to stay a little bit indie and a little bit kind of grungy. The song has become an inspiration to other artists and remains a seminal component of the alternative rock movement of the early and mid-1990s. So there you go. That gets us underway today. Thank you very much for your input.
And just another thing, which probably also pissed him off a lot. I think one of the songs that kept them out of number 1 was from Wayne's World.
The most commercial song of the time.
So Wayne's World kept. No wonder Frusciante said, "I'm out. I don't want to be mainstream."
Exactly. All right, just plain Darren. We'll speak to you a little bit later on.
Good luck with the show, guys.
Thank you so much. It is The Business, brought to you by FNB Business Banking, live on Balls Visual Radio with Kriya and Ian. We're here till 12 o'clock today. This is the song we're talking about.
The Business, weekdays 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on balls.co.za. Brought to you by FNB Business Banking.